Hello, welcome to Pike Creek Farm and welcome to January. It is my favorite time of the year and it is a blustery and wintry day. So it is a perfect day to get some canning done. And if you don't know what January is, it is my favorite collab of the year. It's put on by Lisa Sutton at SuttonsDaze and it is an awesome canning recipe every day of the month. And if you're like me, you like watching canning recipes. I just love watching them. I like seeing what different people make and just get different ideas. And one of my goals this month was to can up things that I need for my pantry, things I'm out of, and also things that I have in my freezers that I need to, I need to empty my freezers out some. They were literally, my husband opened up the refrigerator freezer and bags of tomatoes fell out. And he said, Renee, are you gonna get these done soon? I went, yeah, this weekend. So that's what I'm doing. I am going to do frozen tomatoes that I had washed and cored and put in freezer bags last summer and fall when things were crazy and there wasn't enough to process a full load. So I would get to them later. And I do this every year until I have enough coming in that I can do, a whole batch. So that's what I'm going to show you today. Because there's some special rules when you freeze tomatoes. And I want to share with you how to do that because it's nice because, in the fall, everything is coming. It is insane. You got beans, you got beets, you got everything, everything's coming and it's so hard to keep up. We have apple trees, pear trees. If I throw some of the tomatoes in the freezer, I can do them now and it's a little more chill. And I like that. Now you might want to make the same exact tomato products that you would make as your tomatoes are coming off the vine. But you can't do that. When you freeze tomatoes and then go to can them, they have to be a cooked product. And your tomatoes are going to break down. So these are tomatoes I did last September that are raw packed in their own juice. This is probably one of my favorite tomato products. They keep their shape nice. It's its own tomato juice in there. And I just love these. These tomatoes would not keep the shape or texture. The freezing process loses the cellular structure. Even people say, how about salsa? Well, here's salsa I made from our tomatoes and it won't even keep this structure as well. What you can do is tomato sauce, tomato juice, marinara sauce, crushed tomatoes, anything that's a cooked tomato. So here's some tomato juice I did from some just a couple weeks ago. Now I could have cooked this down and had tomato sauce like what I'm doing today. So this is one of the freezers. It is full and we have more, but I need to dig out these bags of tomatoes. I didn't mark the weight on all of them. That was a mistake. I should have. So then, as you can see, I've washed them and I cored them. So January is an annual event put on by Lisa, and there's a video every day, and on the last day of the month, the 31st, she will have a drawing, and she's given away a pressure canner, and she's given away a steam canner. Awesome prizes. She also has ForJars as a sponsor, and they're giving away a pressure canner and some other awesome prizes. All the details will be below. So my tomatoes are still in the process of thawing. And this was heaped full, and as they thaw, they condense. I had 20 pounds. And as they thaw, the skins just peel off. So, and I have a variety of tomatoes. I have heirloom, I have some Roma, some Amish paste. These are not tomatoes that I picked after we had a hard frost and they were froze on the vine. Those you can't use. Those are no longer tomatoes that can be canned. And my friend Linda over at Leelou Creates explained to me why. Because once the frost hits, what the plant does is it pulls all the nutrients back into the plant, to the roots, and that takes it out of the tomato and impacts the acidity. So we don't know how much acid's really in that tomato. So that makes those tomatoes not safe, possibly. So we don't want to risk that. Keep stirring. Ooh. And as they thaw, the skins will just peel right off. Okay, they are starting to thaw more and break down. I am picking the skins out. Let's see, here's my bowl of skins and some of the tomato water. And I will pour some of that back in because it will cook down, but there is flavor and some of the acidity is in there. It isn't water, it is tomato water. It is part of the tomato and part of the flavor. Oops, hope that wasn't too loud. Let's see, look at that. That skin just pulls right off. Now I'm going to strain out the seeds when it cooks down some. You don't have to. You can take an immersion blender, and I have done that before, and just pureed it all together. Some people find the seeds, the texture they don't like, or they find the seeds make the sauce bitter. I'm not bothered by them, but I also like the texture without any of the seeds. So I'll show you how to get seeds out one of the ways, because there's more than one. And you can tilt the lid a little of whatever pan you're using to let some of the steam out to help with the reducing. So I'm going to turn mine up to about 250. It has been cooking for a while, and it's going to have a ways to go. But I am going to get out, like I see some skin and some of the seeds. And I'm going to use a mesh strainer. And I'm just going to put it in here. And mash it through. Scooping in here and doing this until I am happy with what's left in the roaster, and I will let it cook down until it's the thickness I desire. So we're getting it a lot out. It's doing good, and I'm just like setting it like this now, balancing it, which is working well. I am gonna let this cook down some more. There might be a few seeds in it, but I'm okay with that. It is a very thin sauce now, but the flavor is great, it smells great. Just needs to have the salt added and the lemon juice. So I'm gonna keep stirring it and let it just cook till it's thick. I'm gonna let it cook down some so it's a little bit thicker. I don't want it like spaghetti sauce. It will not be that thick. Okay, I am gonna call this done. I could cook it down to be a thick sauce. Look at that, there is something there. I'm gonna take that out. But it is thick enough for me. And there's a few little seeds, and that does not bother me. You can see the texture in it. It is not juice anymore. It is not watery. My canner is full of water. about here, and it's heated up because we're gonna have hot jars, hot sauce. Not spicy sauce, but hot sauce to go in there. My lids are heating up because ForJars recommends that. And the recipe I'm following is from the USDA. It is standard tomato sauce. And this can be processed in a water bath. It could be done in a steam canner too, because it could be done in pints or quarts, and the longest time is 40 minutes. I currently don't have a steam canner. Mine sprung a leak. Not sure why. Got a pinhole in the bottom, so I have to replace it. So I have a water bath canner. You can also do it in a pressure canner. But I thought I would do water bath canning because a lot of people, that's how they first start off canning. And it's what I did for years and years and years. What my mom, all my mom ever did, so it's what I grew up doing. So in this book and online, this entire thing is online. It gives all the different times for whatever size jar, pints or quarts, and whatever processing you want, whether it's water bath or pressure canning. And you can even do the half pints, but you process at the pint time. Just to, you know, if you are a family with one person, you know, if you're a single person, or if you know, those little jars of tomato sauce I use from the store, so it might be handy to have some half pints. But you process the same time as pints. And I have my lemon juice out. You have to use bottled lemon juice for your acid, and since we're doing pints, it'll be 1 tablespoon. I am gonna put some salt in mine. This is totally optional. I'll put a teaspoon of salt, and actually half a teaspoon, excuse me. It's a teaspoon for a quart. That'd be too salty. We don't want a teaspoon in a pint. So I have a half a teaspoon here. I just said the wrong thing. Now, just to make sure there's no little chunks that I missed, and maybe to puree up any rogue seeds, there's a few little seeds in here. I'm gonna take this. If you didn't wanna do all that straining I did, you can just do this. I don't recommend leaving the peels in. The peels have almost like a paper texture that isn't very appealing. So I'm gonna blend away. Looks good. Please do. Okay, I'm gonna get some jars. Ooh, they're hot. So I'm gonna bring you down and fill these up. I always put a towel down because I make a mess. I always make a mess. I always put my lemon juice in first so I do not forget. And it's 1 tablespoon in a pint. If you were doing quarts, it would be 2. You can also use citric acid, and you can buy that in little jars with all your canning supplies. And I do have a jar of it, and to be honest, I've never used it. I read where some people don't like the taste of that, and I've always used lemon, and I like I don't notice it, so I've been nervous to try the acidic acid. And I know people that use the acidic acid and love it and have not used the lemon. So I do a scant half teaspoon. I don't let it get rounded or full. So now I have my salt in and lemon juice in. Now I can fill them. I just always want to make sure I have those things taken care of before I add the product, because it's real easy to forget. And this is a thinner tomato sauce. You can cook it down more to get it to a medium. But to me, this will just be perfect. I am excited. a little bit more. Let me get you a little closer. Okay, we have 1/4 inch headspace. Let me see if you can see it better this way. Yeah. I'm going to give it a stir. Let me grab, I have water here. I'm going to wipe this rim, make sure there's nothing on there and there's no chips or anything. When I wash my jars, I make sure there's no cracks, no chips, that everything looks fine with these jars. Forgot my little lid grabber. Most lids, they don't recommend heating up anymore, but ForJars does. So you don't need to bring them to a boil, you just need to heat them up because their compound is so thick, which is awesome. Now we're gonna put a ring on just till it stops. That's it. You don't need to crank it on there. And this is gonna go on my rack, which I have elevated on the edges here. So let's fill the second one here. Doing tomatoes isn't hard, it just is time consuming. So if you're spending a day at home, like today was a very snowy, blustery day, no problem. I just kept checking on it and stirring it and taking out the skins, and I find it very enjoyable and relaxing to can. So there we go. And to see the end product on my shelves, I just get so excited. Something else I didn't mention, make sure you lift your jar up straight and carry it over straight and set it down straight in your canner. Don't tilt. You don't want to compromise this seal at all. This is what's left. I'll put that in a container in the refrigerator. And here's my jars in my canner. I will lower this down. There's the handles here. And I want the water to be 1 to 2 inches over the tops of the lids. It has to be covering them. And then I'm going to bring it to a full rolling boil. I use my measurer and it's just over 1 inch. I'm probably gonna boil some water and add that to it because I like it to be closer to 2 inches. I will get it up closer to those, just under those bolts on the side there. Pints is 35 minutes for my altitude. Quarts would be 40. The times below are for pressure canners. Oh, there, look at that, it focused. This is all online too. There we go, that's the full boil. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit so it maintains and set my timer for the 35 minutes. Here are my jars the next day. They all sealed. And I have some vintage jars that I use, like a Presto Supreme. These are some old ball ones, but they sealed. I have sauce that is beautiful, and you will see a little bit of separation sometimes, and that is perfectly normal with canned tomato products. And if you have that, usually on the pantry shelf, it resolves itself. If not, just shake it up when you go to use it, and it will all, you know, blend back together. So thank you for watching, and I hope you learned how you can use your frozen tomatoes that you froze in the crazy time of gardening and can during the winter into some wonderful tomato sauce for your pantry shelves. If you want to see more videos on canning and vintage recipes and life here at Pike Creek Farm, subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you here. See you next time at Pike Creek Farm.